Hi there, Cancer, and welcome back to Bonico Tarot. I am here with a whole new set of videos that focus on the blood moon eclipse, which kicks off Mercury retrograde starting tomorrow, July 27th. So there's a lot of stuff happening, so I figured I'd do readings that were specifically addressing this particular period of time because as I've been reading from many of the astrologers that I reference, Astrology King, Astro Mojo, Michelle Knight, and Aquarius papers, there is a lot of talk about how significant this eclipse is for all of us. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the astrology around that, but then I'm also going to get very specific for you, Cancer. And then I'm going to do a Celtic Cross reading that's focusing specifically on the eclipse, and then a 3-card reading to see if we can get any more insight as to what you're working through the Mercury retrograde period. So, to start things off, the general consensus seems to be that we're all standing at the threshold of a whole new chapter in our lives. So this is a time to really be paying attention, to be mindful of the stuff that we're working on, that we've been working on. You may, if you think back to February, you may have some kind of idea as to what it is you are working through this eclipse season. With eclipses, and with this one in particular, we're going to be dealing with a lot of contrasts. And that's going to create a lot of tension, but it's actually forcing us to be more creative. And so, in our responses to each other, and in responses to our own stresses. So, because we're moving into a whole new chapter, we need to let go of things from the previous chapter that we can't take with us, because we're moving into a new paradigm. And so, because we've been living a certain way for so long, it's really hard to let go of certain things for some of us, some more than others. But we have to shed the old stuff that can't come with us into the new place that we're coming into. So, stuff that we should be watching for through this eclipse, sensitive eclipse time, because although the energies peak when it's exact, they linger around for days ahead and for days afterwards. Because this particular eclipse is so long, we're actually going to be feeling the effects of this one for many months. So, Mars is a trigger for all of us in most respects at any time, but especially now. It's kind of dancing around with Uranus and a few other planets in certain ways that are making us a little bit more vulnerable to flying off the handle when we're triggered. And the challenge really is grace under pressure. That when things start happening, instead of reacting, it's time to reflect. So reflect instead of react, and lean into what Venus is providing all of us, and that is Venus is softening the edges of a lot of these lessons in letting go, and in embracing new ideas and new people into our lives. It's going to facilitate rebirths within existing relationships that are not passing away, and renewals in our sense of personal abundance. So these are all great themes for us to be focusing on in the collective. But what is Cancer looking at specifically? So we're talking about this eclipse tomorrow. Probably you'll be listening to this today because I'm recording it the day before. But this eclipse is one of 3 this summer that we're dealing with. We were having 5 eclipses out of this year, and the other 2 were back in January and February. So there won't be any eclipses after August 11th. But we had one July 12th, we have one July 27th, and then another one August 11th. And each one of these eclipses is falling in different houses in our chart depending on what sign we are. So for Cancer, the eclipse is on the 12th of July was in your first house. So that's all about your identity and your image that you present to the world. And this time around, we're going to the complete opposite for Cancer. It's your most private, most intimate, personal house, and that's the 8th house. It's the house of intimacy, sex, death, and other people's money. And then we come to the eclipse, which is a much softer eclipse in August on the 11th, and it's about your 2nd house, which is all about income and values. So we'll integrate that information into your reading, but other planetary notes that you should know about specifically for Cancer is where Venus is supporting us. For Cancer, there could be some challenges because something has to move in your relationships, and I'm hoping that the cards will reflect a little bit about that. But the fact that we're focusing on the 8th house for this particular eclipse, and then moving into the 2nd house, which is about money, yes, but it's also about values. It could be that your values are changing, or the values of the people within your particular social circle are changing. You may all be changing and breaking apart and moving into something new. But Venus is going to move this through quickly for Cancer. And Jupiter is actually what's going to be giving Cancer a break in expanding possibilities for travel. So, and get away from the chaos that may be happening in your social circles. You may be dealing with a lot of drama. So let's start doing the spreads and see what else we can get for Cancer right now. I'm going to do first a Celtic cross that's focusing on what this eclipse means for you specifically. And then after that, I'll just do a 3-card spread to get a little bit of insight into what the next 3 weeks are going to be like for you. So for now, let's focus on Cancer. And how are things going to play out for Cancer for the blood moon eclipse? July 27th, 2018, blood moon eclipse for Cancer. July 27th, blood moon eclipse for Cancer. All right, let's see what we got. Okay. Well, it looks as though you're on the last little tail of challenges. So let's just jump right in. Okay. Your first card is the Three of Swords. So this is about sorrow. This is about heartbreak, disappointment, sadness, grief. And the obstacle is the Sun card, which is all about being happy and children and bright, happy times, optimism. So sorrow and optimism, my goodness. The foundation is the Fool, which is all about trust and setting off on a new journey, and not really thinking about it too much. You know, just kind of letting go. So you got a bit of a jump on this. In the recent past, we have the Queen of Cups. So I would say this is you, Cancer, and you know you may have just gone through a fairly emotional time. And if the first eclipse was about identity and image, there could have been a lot of self-reflection already happening as a result of that. What a lot of us are doing right now is we're right on the edge of manifesting. We've done the work, and now we want to take action, and we want to make things happen. So these are, this is having plans, it's the sort of dream state, it's all of those thoughts of creation. Your near future is the Eight of Swords. So you're going to feel restricted, and this may frustrate you a bit. And it's kind of what's frustrating all of us, because we can't seem to get traction on anything. You know, it's like, why can't I get traction? It's like, I got all these ideas. I'm done with being sad. I'm done with being emotional. I'm ready to, and so you've been cutting stuff out that doesn't work for you anymore. You've said, no, done with this, I'm done with that. I'm staying nice and clear on this particular pathway. And you and the people that you're interacting with are feeling extremely successful right now. So this is great. Cancer's doing really, really well. Now, there may be some concerns that full and total emotional fulfillment is still maybe a little out of your reach. The final outcome is the Queen of Swords. So I'm thinking this is you too. And it's kind of like, I just got the thought, there's a new sheriff in town. So if that resonates for some of you, maybe you had been living under the regime of somebody else's unconscious idea of how things should go, and perhaps a relationship ended as a result of that, and now it's like, okay, there's a new set of rules, I'm calling them, and this is just how it's going to be. But there's a lightness of it. There's a lightness of being in this, somehow. And then we've got the Ace of Pentacles as the hidden ground. So this really is about a new beginning. You know, one with a solid, grounded, like it's going to go places. This kind of new beginning. And you know, for a watery sign like Cancer, that's a pretty good achievement. But yeah, I can't stop hearing there's a new sheriff in town. So good for you, Cancer. And you may be the voice of reason in this eclipse drama, if there is any drama. But yeah, I think you're going to do well through this eclipse, and I look forward to. I plan on doing a reading closer to when we get to the August 11th one. We'll see how you're doing then. But Cancer's looking pretty solid. And yeah, it's like if we also go back to the second house, meaning for you in terms of or actually, no, that has nothing to do with this. Let's go on to that now. See, there's so much happening. I'm confusing myself. Okay, so there we go. So the eclipse, new sheriff in town. Cancer's going to take care of everything. If we all lose our minds, find a Cancer. That's kind of what I'm thinking. All right, so let's take a look at Mercury retrograde for Cancer. We're going to do 3 cards to see what's under review, the best advice for processing, and number 3, a glimpse of what's coming. Because the eclipse that comes in August, if we've been doing the work and we haven't created more of a mess by losing our minds through the eclipse and this Mercury retrograde process, by the time we hit the eclipse August the 11th, which is 6 days before Mercury retrograde ends, so it's not as if we're going to have all the answers, but if we've been working hard, we're going to get a glimpse over the horizon as to where we're headed. So use that as an incentive through this eclipse period if you're tempted to lose your mind. So for Cancer, Mercury retrograde, what is under review, what's the best advice, and what's coming? For Cancer, Mercury retrograde, July, August 2018. For Cancer. Cancer, July, August, Mercury retrograde, insights for Cancer. That's funny. Okay, so I'm still on track then. Because Mercury retrograde is all about the second house for Cancer and your spending habits. This just flew out of the deck. So that means hold on to your money. Don't spend. Be a miser. Don't be generous. Keep it to yourself. That's what this is about. So, Cancer. 2 more shuffles. And then I'll cut the cards. Lay them out. Alright. So your first card is the Fool, which was the foundation. This is a new way for you. There's something in the way that you're, this is all new. And you're seeing it. You're feeling it. You know, it's, and if you had any baggage around trust, somehow you've let it go. So the best advice for processing is do not come to any conclusions, don't make any decisions, just keep trusting. Keep staying in the Fool position. Do not make any decisions. Just be open. Remain open. And what's coming is building a new foundation. So whether that's professionally, whether that's your entire life from the ground up, like this is a whole new foundation that's going to be supporting you for a long, long, long time. So you being the voice of reason, possibly through this tense eclipse couple of days here, is going to be a real opportunity for you to shine with perhaps the new people that you're starting to move towards. So, or at least, or you're cleaning out what hasn't been supportive to you up until now. So I'd say that you're going to be in pretty good shape. And I look forward to seeing what's happening with Cancer once we get closer to the August 11th eclipse. I'm sure I'll have many other videos before then. So for now, I'd like to thank you for sharing, liking, and subscribing. Please leave any comments if you're finding that these readings are resonating with you. If not, then maybe they're not for you, as they are general readings. And also, if you'd like to follow me on Facebook and contact me for a personal reading, you can message me there. And you can also find a few articles that I'm starting to write and accumulate on astrological situations. I am not an astrologer, but I really like following the patterns. So I look forward to seeing you again, Cancer. Take care.